Hello, and welcome to a very special conversation, which they all are, by the way. Um, and this is from the 100 Women to Watch campaign. Today, we have a topic that was inspired by the Natalie, who is here with us. Natalie, can you just tell us about the theme that we're going to be talking about tonight and also what it means to you?
Sure. So we're talking about caregiving, and the theme is talking about the next generation of caregivers. And I've been inspired to do this because I've been caregiving for about 7.5 years. It was a calling that I received, and this topic is very near and dear to my heart. In the work that I've been doing, I feel there's a big need for caregivers out there. Um, there just aren't enough of us, and so I am in the midst of creating a website specifically for caregivers, independent caregivers, so that we can network with each other. And really, when I'm calling it the next generation of caregivers, I really want to bring in and rise up the next generation, the folks, the younger people, to be able to come into caregiving and to do it with the passion that I do it with, and also just with the other colleagues that I currently work with. So that's why we're here.
And can we just define caregiver or caregiving for those who are not familiar with the term?
Caregiving is a term used for someone who cares for, and it doesn't need to be somebody outside of the family. It can be an actual family member. So somebody that takes care of either a sick loved one or a disabled loved one or just an aging loved one. So you can have a family caregiver, which is somebody directly related, or you can have an independent caregiver, which would be someone like myself.
Got it. So when we're talking about raising the next generation of caregiving, like what's the state of what's going on that we really need to be so future focused? And I'm gonna put this question out there for any of us to chime in, because I think there's something there. Got it. I see Layla nodding.
Yeah. So what is there? What is here now? What have I seen? A level of burnout, a level of discouragement, a level of just extreme chaos and ungroundedness, and just a real need for coming back to what's here in the present moment and connecting to ourselves and making that the first command, not the, what do I call it, the hypocritical oath. Do no harm. First, do no harm. The framework that I was brought up in is that's about another person. First, do no harm to the person outside of you. And what I believe would be so incredible for myself, right, and the next generation is to really step into, I can only give from a full cup. I can only participate in circuitry with another when I'm in circuitry with myself. And school is wonderful. I mean, I'm grateful that I have a master's degree, but where and how did I learn care and what care is? Pretty dysfunctional. So some tabula rasa regarding the former life that we maybe learned in school or the media or TV shows or wherever, and really stepping into what is the heart of care, what is true care. And it will be different for everybody, but really grounding in that. Like, why are you here? What is your heart calling you what are you feeling right now in your body, and what are you called to, what are you connecting to in yourself before you're attempting to connect to another person. So that's what I see.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I want to chime in. I think that's a great for what you're saying, Natalie and Leela. My angle, which we'll get into a little bit later, I have both lenses. I'm a healthcare provider, and I caregiving for my mom and dad. And so they are different. I'm gonna just say that. I'll put that on out there. But you're right. You have to do it from a full cup. As a child, I was able to see my mom caring for, because it seemed like it was just a walk of life for her. Because everybody that needed something, they came to her, and she was rambunctious of doing it. It looks like it was no sweat. And the point I'm saying is, I saw her doing it so well that it actually, how, when you see your parents doing it, it comes on you. And so I saw her doing it for, oh my God, for my grandmother, great grandmother, aunt, uncle, people of the church, just and so that got on me and my sister, because both of us in healthcare. But you're right. It has to come from within, what you have experienced and your calling. But you have to make sure you circle back to make sure you have that full cup. Because I had to do that on several occasions, because and I know we'll get more in this, but I'm gonna just throw this out there. Everybody's different when they get into their seasoned years. My mom was a dominant person throughout her life, so when she got in her senior years, she got real quiet. So I had to make her kind of talk. But then my dad was the one that was that wasn't too much of a talker throughout his life, but then became more of a singer and telling us all the stories of the past. So we have to have that grace to be able to be that listener, and then be able to do the care. But it's very rewarding on both ends, that I've been able and very blessed to be able to do both sides, from a healthcare stand, every day, and then also doing it in my family as well.
Wow. Kudos to you, Dr. Sunday. That's beautiful. And I commend you for being able to do that, because in the clients and the patients that I've seen, I find that the children that are taking care of their parents struggle. They struggle with trying to balance having, they still want their life, and then they're caring for their parent. And so I've experienced several patients that have had children struggling to provide a level of care, feeling burnt out, feeling guilty, all of those things. So I commend you for seeing it for what it is. I feel it's a privilege to be able to take care of people that are aging. They're trusting us with a part of their life that can be terribly embarrassing to the rest of the world. And so I consider it an honor and a privilege when somebody trusts me at that level.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for bringing, the various perspectives that we have here, because I get that maybe, caregiving could be just about elders. And also, Natalie, you brought in another perspective. It could be about, people who are, not as mobile, no matter what age they are. Just so that we're tracking with the audience too. I love this here. Regina's got a comment for us. She says, all of the above, Natalie. It's a privilege, but it's hella hard.
No doubt. I agree.
Right. So where does that line exist? Okay, I need to, take a break. I need to, do something and fill my cup. Like if it was like The Sims and I had that like gauge over my head and I can see that I was being depleted, then it would make sense, right? But that doesn't exist, besides my Apple Watch. But that's another episode, right? Like how do you start to tell, that you need to shift gears, that you need to shift the perspective from them to you? Like, where does that cognition start?
Sometimes I think it can come from someone outside the quote unquote system. So I, like Dr. Cindy, like I'm professional and also am doing the best I can to take care of my mom, who just turned 90 on August 31st, and have a connection, make the primary connection to myself. And just like anybody else, right, I can get away from that. I can get consumed with her perspective being the only perspective. And that if there is some type of void or lack or something she wants, that I am the only person that can fill that need. And one of the things I think that I've been trying to practice, especially this past year and a half, is, can I separate the perspective of this person in front of me appears to be suffering or saying they're suffering from my own suffering? And so being present with what is it bringing up for me? Like, where do I feel it? Where I was taught, right, as a dementia expert, right, everything is from the neck above, right? So think, diagnose, see the symptoms, read the chart, talk to. And all I ever wanted to do was sit and just hold their hand and look into their eyes. And just that soulful connection is the thing that to this day, like if I want to go out and see on a pit, that's what fills me up. That is, so filling, again, goes back to that circuitry, right? And then being able to say, okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me regulate my nervous system. I'm feeling triggered. Somatic stuff. We were never taught somatic stuff in school. We were never taught how to feel our bodies, how to be present with what is going on with us. We were taught, put out the fire, put out their fire, and make that first. And so, exactly, Dawn Evans, caregivers need caregivers. And I would like to say, it's a bold statement, but Kai knows me. What if we took out the word giver and receiver and we just said care? What if the true care, right? What if the redefinition of care doesn't have a caregiver and a care receiver, a care provider? What if the circuitry is just wholly humanity? And then once we connect to that inside of us, then that connection, that person will feel safe in their body. They're going to disclose something to you that they've never told anybody else, and they're going to feel safe. And that to me is the highest honor. Like, I just witnessed the divine in me and the divine in this person. And there's, right? There's no, I'm going to say higher high. There's no feeling like that. I know it exists in me. I know it exists in them. So sometimes it's, I got to take a walk, or I'm noticing my head is hurting, or my feet are, or taking a breath, or smelling a scent, or going outside in nature. So you're not surrounded by the white halls and the smells and the antiseptic and all that. You're connecting to what is here now for us. And then after that, I'm going to say, like, one breath of self-compassion, one breath of compassion for me, one breath of compassion for them. So that, to me, that's how I'm trying to live my life.
Thank you for bringing humanity back, to the subject, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I that made me think back to my main thing with my parents. I wanted them, like you're saying, humanity and their dignity. So a lot of times I had all of this stuff in the refrigerator was their favorites. You know what I'm saying? It was their favorites because I didn't want them to even sense the word lack, because that's not what they are when they've been working, because when they work, daddy always provided, mama always provided, and then the same thing, as our parents got as they getting older, they always cold, so the house could be 80, and then some of my other relatives would complain, and I would say, well, this is my summer. You know what I'm saying? It's just things that I did that people thought that was kind of cray on my part, but to me that gave them their dignity, that their favorite foods, if they wanted the TV to be so loud, I just put my earplugs, just like you're saying, I'm saying the same thing you're saying, Leah. The small things makes a big thing for them. And when we went to the doctor's appointment, we always had to stop at the favorite restaurant, just the small things. And I want to just echo what you're saying. And when they were in the hospital, it's just I call it my divine walk, when I had to go to the car to get something out the car and come back. What we're really saying, I know these is a lot of personal accounts we've had, but you have to not lose yourself, be able to do things that that gives you joy, that you smile inside at the same time as, and I love how you say humanity, the human side. But that was a big thing that I just want to echo, that I remember with my parents, is so they felt that dignity, because they were, 80 years old, in they higher 80s, and they remember when they were younger, and they went to all the the concerts, the church programs, et cetera, the vacations, and I would sit there and just say, like, I've never heard the story before.
Yeah. I hear you. I just had to do that today before I got on this call. Yes, I think it's important, and I think we have to. I just think it's important for them to be seen and to be heard, and I think it brings them joy, even if they're repeating the same story. I've heard it 100 times. I do the same thing, and I'll just ask questions like I'd never heard that story before, but I can tell when it brings them joy, or like you said, it's those little things, like somebody today, they see me, they're like, oh, are we going to go get ice cream? Because that's what they see when they see me. Oh, we're going to go get ice cream. So I agree that it's those little things that add up. And as far as the burnout, or kind of like Layla said, I think we have to come back to the awareness within ourselves. I know for me, if I start to get testy with a client, I immediately catch myself. Like if I come across and say something that, was a little testy, I got to take a breath, or of course I will apologize, and then I know within myself, I need to go back, step back, because right now at this stage in my life, I could be working with clients and patients 24 hours a day if they'd let me. So I think it's also just setting the boundaries, and I think for the most part, setting the boundaries so that I can provide myself with that care that I need to refill my cup, so that I can get back at it, whether it's the next day or in a couple of days.
Got it. And we got some hard hitting questions here, right? And you all have been doing such a great job of handling, of really being with what's present in a graceful way, and also framing it with our humanity, like that helps so much. And also to acknowledge the change, in the next generation of caregivers. I'd love to ask, what are some of the systemic changes that may be urgently needed, to support caregivers of all kinds, especially in the marginalized communities? Is there anything that we can say about that?
I think I mean, there's a lot we can all say about that. So self-awareness, being aware of our internal biases and being courageous enough, it is an act of self-compassion. It might not seem that way at first, to look at those biases and to own them and to become curious about them. And maybe the first intention is, okay, there's an awareness that I feel this, or I saw this about someone in it and I felt this. Okay, well, let me sit with that for however long. Let me be honest that I felt something there. And looking at the biases with curiosity as opposed to judgment will bring in, it might not happen, 20 seconds from now, right? But it will bring in some light. It'll put a light on, just the curiosity, just asking the question, just being brave enough to ask a question. Wow, that was interesting, or that didn't feel good in my stomach, or that, like, wherever your somatic practice is, and bring that all to the table. So we have a new client come into our team, and I vet them, and then I talk to the team, and I tell them before I take the patient on, if I decide to, this is going to bring up every single thing inside of you. And we meet and we talk about it. And I'm like, don't hold back. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what your worries are. Tell me and then owning the biases with curiosity. There is a perspective, and this happens when, you're working with anybody in trauma, right? That they're not held, that they're not seen, that they're not in their wholeness. They're going through some fear, grief response to something. And the truth is, there's no place where they're not held. But they can experience themselves as not being held. So a lot of that work, I think, comes to, where am I not feeling held? And then that's where I go, that I could see how that could become a cultural bias, or that's a population that might be scary, for me to go to or work with. We didn't used to have younger patients in our care practice. It's like, nope, if they're not 65 or in 95, I'm not gonna. And then it was like, we started getting all these people in their 40s, and I was like, how am I gonna? It's like, love is love. And if that's the core, and I just show up with, I'm here loving myself, and I'm open to loving you, something will guide me. But to say, I don't have any biases, I'm just up on a mountain treating everyone like that's not true. So a safe space to talk about that stuff, to debrief when there's been a trauma and everyone is running all over and scattered and in their fear, and you have the care providers, as we're going to call them now, experiencing grief, shock, loss, trauma, all those things, is having a place. And I'm not talking about a 20-minute debrief after there's been somebody code in front of you. I'm talking about hours, right? Or you go off shift and you're not on shift for like 3 days, and you have support in that, right? Someone's reaching out to you. There's a group. There's that, whatever your practice is, that you are so refilled with that consistently that you then begin to see yourself in your wholeness. And from then you can only see another person in their wholeness. And that erases bias.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's courageous. It's courageous thing to even say, like, oh yeah, I felt that, or I saw that, or that scared me, or, right? Everyone's so afraid of getting sued.
Right.
Wow.
Where do we just go and express honestly, I'm frustrated, I felt scared, I didn't sleep well, where does that go? Are we supposed to stuff that and just keep, oh, it's about the person in front of me? No, human interaction is going to bring up stuff within us. I want you to safe place to express that.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for just putting the truth in what you're saying to the forefront, right? You know, owning the biases, you know, owning our humanity. You know, these are the things that, you know, that we get to do, period. Regina has a comment here. She says, something that I don't hear discussed is the confrontation with one's own mortality when caring for an aging parent. And as an unmarried lesbian woman, who will care? Who will be there to care for me? It can be very frightening. Thank you, Regina.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. That's true. I want to chime in a little bit, like you're saying, Leela, and I experienced this myself, and I talked to the administrator about it. There, when they, you know, when the different companies come out, or even in the hospital or care unit or whatever, and evaluate some of the wonderful, you know, seasoned people, some of the questions are kind of biased. And you know, it's a climate that's kind of touch and go in our society now, but I think that we need to kind of, and you know, when they assessing their mental status, well, if I grew up in this part of the country, I have no idea what you just talked about versus if I grew up in the South or if I grew up in a whole nother country. And the administrator, he's, you know, it was interesting. I mean, he said, we never even thought about that. I'm glad you brought that to our attention. So I think we need to have more and more conversations that's open, like we're doing right now. And I thank Regina for saying what she, you know, her comment, because there are so many things that needs to be addressed. And the first thing we need to do is bring the awareness and put it on the table. And we, you know, continue to talk about it and put things in place, because it's not, you know, when you're asking questions and people have not experienced it, maybe they only went to X amount of grade, of course they're not going to be able to answer it, and they may even know the answer. Going all the way back, and I think Natalie mentioned trust. I didn't realize this, and I'm confessing on live broadcast, right? I didn't realize how many people really didn't trust healthcare. Maybe my, you know, the scales over my eye, you know, because I'm in it. And we really need to work on that, because I go out of my way really to make sure my patients understand what I'm doing, what we're not doing. And I think that needs to just be really with our elderly, our senior care, because depending on the community that they're in, depending on, because I did notice this in my parents, they went back to what they, you know, how they say that sometimes the elderly goes back to, you know, their childhood. So I had to respect that, and some of the things they were referring to, and I had to tell the people, I'm like, well, they can't, you know, my mom just said this, and she's not gonna know what you're talking about. So I think that there needs to be more and more conversations open, like we're doing now, so we can kind of respect their, you know, their environments, I guess is a better word, and not to want them to remember 7 fruits in all, and you've never seen one of those fruits before. So you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. I know which question you're talking to on the mini mental, the Mocha, and the Fulstein. Yes, I do. Or spell this word backwards, and they're like, I can't spell that word forwards. What are you asking me to spell backwards for? Like, what? Yeah. No, I do.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I'm not coming from I'm an independent caregiver. So I'm really, although I do take my patients to appointments and whatnot. So the only thing I can say to that is what I experience, not every time, just depending on the doctors, is that if is they'll talk to me instead of talking to the patient.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say, no, go ahead and ask them. I find that can be very demeaning, especially even if they have dementia, I still think it's important to at least ask them the question. And if they have dementia or they can't answer, that to me is part of the humanity too, is still treating them in that environment as a human and as a person who still matters, and not just deflecting to whoever else is in the room. I've experienced it where the patient gets agitated or upset when they're being overlooked like that. I would love to see that change a little bit in the healthcare world.
Yeah, when I speak from my perspective, I'm also, when I'm working with a doctor, I'm working with someone who's not a geriatrician, or which there's not a ton of them anyway, who it's so clear to me that they're like, I get it, they're doing the best that they can, but they're relying on me for a lot of information. And what I like to do is, introduce and have the person at least talk directly to them and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, can I call you by your first name? My name is so-and-so. And then I like it when they ask the person for the permission and say, hey, is it okay if I talk to Layla? And Layla, right? And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes Layla doesn't know who she is either. So that's fine. They're like, wait, which one is the patient? And then they say, is it okay if I ask her some questions and all? And then most of the time, I can't remember a time actually where the person has said no. They've said, who's Layla before? Or that nice lady who came with you, would you? And they just say, they get to say that, like, hi, I'm here. Can I call you by your first name? Would you prefer to be blah, blah, blah? Sometimes they'll do some like, do you know why you're here? But it's more that permission. So we're having a collaborative communication. So the hierarchy comes down to the humanity. Yeah. Here's my white, jacket and my name tag, and it says these initials. So we're all in this together. I'm not better because I went to medical school. You're not worse because you have the humanity again. It brings it to and I love it when they squat down. It's my favorite thing ever, where they squat down and they get eye level. Like they're not like, oh, let's have the person who's 94 get down to or they crank that stool that you're not supposed to sit on with good reasons, because I've fallen off of them before. And so have doctors. So those are not safe. Where they crank it down and they're like eye level. They get eye level to the person when they're like 6'7", and they're like, ee, and they're like, right, I see you, right? I see you. My name is so-and-so. Can I call you blah, blah, blah. And then after that connection, soul to soul, eye to eye is made, heart to heart, then they turn to me and they say, sometimes they'll do the backdoor sneaky, like, let me see if this person remembers. Oh, and who is this lady that came with you today? But a lot of the times it's like, is it okay if I speak to her? And then there's that bridge of like, okay, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm acknowledged in my humanity. And then we can have the discussion. And then at the end I say, do you have any questions for the doctor? Or do you have any questions right? So it's like we're opening the sacred, communication, and now we're closing the sacred communication. Humanity at the beginning, humanity the whole way, humanity at the end.
Right.
Thank you for using the word sacred. That really starts to paint maybe a different picture than some would have of this kind of situation. So that's much appreciated.
Isn't humanity sacred, Kai?
Ooh, talk about it, Layla.
I mean, isn't like just every experience that we get to have, and then to look someone in the eyes and have that connection just even in a moment, like, it's just, isn't that why we're here?
Mhm.
Isn't that why we're here? And then it just awakens that, like, then there's no giver and receiver, then there's circuitry. So I'm in circuitry in myself. That connection is always available in me. Oh my God, look, that person has it too, right? If they're breathing and their heart is beating, because I don't know where they go afterwards, but when in that moment, right, that sacred moment, and that's, it just breaks my heart to see, even for myself, like in the moments where I'm like, oh my God, I've lost that. Oh my God, the burnout, the fatigue, all that is so strong. The amount of things that I believe that I had to do, where really the gift is, I'm in my wholeness. I will only be able to see you in your wholeness. And isn't humanity wholeness? It's sacred. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'll tell you something that's taken me a couple of years to take in for myself. I hopped up on I think she was 96-year-old's bed in the hospital. We were in the ER together, as you do. And I started singing. She was singing Yankee Doodle Dandy, but she was changing the pronouns. And I hopped up on the bed with her, and I had whatever was on the TV, the phone, whatever, and I was singing Yankee Doodle Dandy, and she would change the words to she. And literally, it was like one of the best moments of my life. And I walked out, and we're in like the trauma, we're in the ER. And I walked out, and some nurse who I had never seen before walked up to me and put her hand, it was his hand on my shoulder, and said, I don't know who you are, but if I ever was in that bed, I'd want you to be there. And just walked off. And it's taken me like a couple of years to be like, oh, that was sacred.
Mm.
Maybe it's
Yes,
all
well,
sacred. Maybe it's all sacred.
Yeah. Yeah. Every breath. Right, Layla?
Yeah. Every breath.
Yeah. And with that, you're starting to talk about the legacy that you're creating here. Whether you're aware of it or not, like this is who people are remembering you for, and who are walking away, having had an experience of your essence, right? This is something that we can do intentionally. And also, this is just something that is done through the actions that we take, through the words that we speak, for the way that we are and who we be, around people, right? So, in the sense of, like doing it intentionally, and this is a question that I'm posing to everyone: what or how do we want to be remembered, by those that we've cared for? What legacy are you building through your care?
Well, for me personally, and I try not to say this and not cry, but oftentimes I do. When I do what I do with my patients, my legacy that I want them to know that they were seen, they were heard, and they were loved by me. And I can't tell you, not that I'm tooting my own horn, but I just know the importance of that because I hear it from my clients and my patients. And I just want those folks to know that they mattered, that they mattered.
Thank you, Natalie. Dr. Sunday?
I think for me, I agree with Natalie, but also what we've been really talking about, that they have dignity, that they made it to the age they're at because they actually helped someone else in this journey. I remember this song. I remember this song when we used to go to church and stuff. My dad would always play it. I can't remember the full song. I remember that one line. If I do one thing in this world, then my living is not in vain.
Hmm.
So I truly believe that if I help one person, and I went into medicine, if I help one person not be stressed or feeling anxiety, make them laugh, just smile by the me saying my name, I have helped them for that day. And that's usually what happened because people can't really believe my last name is Sunday, and they just, even if it's a day Sunday or even if it's ice cream Sunday, it ain't both great. And I want people to realize that right now I'm focused on them, and I take pride. I think Layla said of looking them, or Natalie, forgive me if I'm incorrect with that. I like looking people straight front and center, and that is very powerful. And another thing with healthcare, I call all my patients, even if they 16 on the way up, Mr. and Mrs. And they like, don't call me, but I said, no, this is respect. I'm respecting you, and and that goes a long ways. But our elderly, one time I can remember real quickly, like one of your experience, I had to I just sat on the bed with the patient and just tell me what's going on, and they were able to tell me everything, what they wanted to talk about, and that was so special to me. And when I got up and stood up, she grabbed my hand and she gave me a wink and she said, thank you for being you. And that has gone with me my whole life. But we don't really realize, one last thing I want to say with this, we don't really realize, to take it spiritual for a second, we don't realize that we may be the only sacred, the only divine, the only Bible, whatever words you want to put there, that people will ever see, really, but especially that day. And so I take it to as a mission and a calling that I make sure I do that. Even if I just say my name and they smile, we all right.
I love that.
That's a great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunday. There's a lot of people who are getting into this world of care. Thank you, Layla, for distilling it down to care, right? Or distilling it into care, right? Is that I'm curious, what advice would you give someone who is just stepping into either, a career or a role in care for the first time? And if you can integrate also just a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where we can find you, that'll help us wrap up for today. So the question is, what advice would you give to someone who is stepping into care for the first time?
Well, I guess I'll start. My advice is to be patient with yourself and with the person that you're caring for. I think that's the most important. I'm trying to think back when I first started doing this kind of work, and sometimes my patience was tested. Sometimes, I don't really feel it being tested anymore because I just understand it now better. But and to have grace with yourself, especially, because a lot, there's not really, how they say with parenting, you don't get a handbook. Well, you don't get a handbook with care either, because everyone is different, and it's okay. And there's more than one way to care for somebody. So that would be probably the first bit of advice. And then secondly, I would just remind them again, I'm so big on it, of just that to consider what they're doing is beyond themselves. They're making a difference, and what they're doing matters. And they're going to, hopefully, by doing this kind of work, they'll find it rewarding for themselves, but also to know that they're making a difference for the life that the person that they're caring for, and to just remind them of that.
Thank you. Where can people find you, Natalie?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I am just about ready to launch my website, Nurturing Hands Network, in October. So I'm in the process of putting all of that together. So for now, you can just find me on Facebook with my name right there, and Nurturing Hands Network will be coming up next month on Facebook, and I will have my own website.
How exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And where are you located physically? Where are you, Natalie?
I am in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
How about you, Layla?
What would I tell somebody? What advice? Okay.
I'll reframe it for you. Just we can take our time here. What advice would you give someone who's just stepping into a role or career in care for the first time? And thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. Run. That would be my first. Don't go in the, are you sure that there's anyway, so I would, yeah, that's funny, but also I want to know the why. What is your deepest why? Because the more that we are present with what is and what comes up for us in any interaction that we have in life, moment to moment, the more what rises to the surface is stuff that is ready to leave, right? Is stuff that, like, looking at the light and looking at the dark and being like, why, what is it? Why, what is the real why? What is the big why? And let that be what I call your inner devotional compass. Let the why be so big inside of you that you can come back to that on your worst days. And that evolves. So someone who's, 18 to 24, a medical assistant on our team is applying for medical school. And I had a moment of like, am I going to be able to mentor this person? Like, I didn't go to medical school. And then what came in was seeing someone in their wholeness now, before she's, I don't want to say indoctrinated, but before she goes to school, and being able to see my 75-year-old, my 92-year-old in their wholeness will bring up stuff in her where she's not feeling whole. And she gets the opportunity to be with that, to grow with that, to come back to her why and know that her why will evolve and expand as she goes. Mm-hmm. And that if they can return to that inner devotional compass, it's about love. It's about service. It's not, I'm trying to fill some hole or, be the next generation of having an MD or go to this Ivy League school because it's going to look whatever, right? It's, where is my devotional compass? Where's my inner, how big is my why? And then from there, that circuitry will naturally come with the other person. So to come back to that, when there's school and there's homework and there's blood flying everywhere and then you don't, and you're afraid, right? Fear is okay to feel. Fear is going to be there. Are you going to ground back into your why and then step forward to be of service to that person? So I'm in Walnut Creek, California. At some point, there will be a Warner Elder Care website. I don't know when. I'm on Facebook. I can put my email in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Dr. Sunday.
I agree with what Layla and Natalie said. I teach students a lot. I love this area because so much have changed with healthcare, even to the point of how they train us. I won't speak on that part first, and then I speak as a person. How they trained us, um, even how they test us as healthcare, even nurses, all the doctors, it's different. They are trying to put in more in our testing critical thinking because that's happening at the high school level, college, and all that. But I always tell the students I have, always remember your core values.
Hmm.
Always remember, going back to what the lady said, what Natalie and Layla said, why you doing this. And also, I always tell them, always treat everyone, if it's a patient, for example, just like if they were your family. Uh, and I do that personally, and grateful. I've been doing it for 26 years now, and because when my family have to go into the hospital, go to urgent care, where have to go in senior care, that they will get the same treatment, because I truly do that to every patient that I come in contact with. They call me the police officer of the operating room. That's what they call, because I see anything that don't shake well, I'm gonna say something about it. I'm the biggest patient advocate, but we need to be the patient advocate for each person. But we also need to be, and not to be our own advocate in regards of, let me just say one point that just came to mind. It used to be a lot of people went into healthcare and general care because of the money. Please don't go into anything because of money. I remember with my residency. Now I'm telling you how old I am now. I worked for 3 months, and they called me in the office. I thought I had did something wrong, but guess what? I hadn't cashed none of the checks. I'm telling you how old I am, right? In 3 months, because I was so excited to be part of helping people feel better, help people get diagnoses and those type of things. So always remember, do your best, always communicate, and it's all gonna work out. And that's me. And the best way to contact me, pretty much on social media and my website, is all the same, drreneesunday.com. I just really love people, and I think every person really love people too. But but we just have to respect each other, and it's okay. Truly, it's okay to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Amen to that, sister.
Yeah.
Thank you, each of you, for the unique perspective that you bring. And Natalie, how are you feeling about the impact of this conversation? Now that we've sat here, we've gotten to know each other, we've spoken, about several different aspects of the industry. That I can't imagine, how it is that you felt before we started, but how do you feel now? How do you feel now, having listened, to what was shared today?
Well, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful to get the different perspectives. I really appreciate seeing it from two different ends of the industry, so to speak. It makes me hopeful. It makes me excited that of where we're going, and the possibilities that we have to really change the face of what care looks like. And yeah, I think it's exciting, and I'm very thankful to have met you two ladies to see that, and know it's not just me. It's out there, and it's possible. So thank you.
Awesome. And again, Natalie, thank you for the inspiration, for the conversation. We are here and we're gathered for a reason. So very, very happy to be a part of this. And thank you, the one who's watching this, for also being a part of the conversation. We've got Regina, Amy Sue, Megan, Don in the comments, all contributing in their own way. And may the conversation continue.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, everyone, so much. Looking forward to our next conversation, and bye for now.